I'm super excited to have this opportunity to share the stage today with one of my good friends here, Code Monkey. How many of you know who Code Monkey is? Yeah,
Hey,
I'd
thank
hope
you.
so. If you have not seen Code Monkey's content, highly recommend it. He's like one of the best Unity content creators that exists in the game. So if
thank
you're
you.
trying to learn Unity development, you're like a brand new Unity dev, highly recommend it. But do you want to do a quick introduction for yourself, Hugo?
Okay, sure, yeah. So my name is Hugo. I'm from Portugal, and I run the Code Monkey YouTube channel, doing game development, commentary, tutorials, all kinds of things. Yeah,
Yeah.
many things.
It's quite impressive, honestly. A lot of different content, a lot about like the state of the games industry, looking at Steam stats, all the way to actually using Unity and getting to know the tool a lot better. So I think it's kind of interesting, and I want to like dig into a bit just for the people that have not met Hugo before we get started into the more questions about like how this industry is looking as a whole. But in terms of like the history of CodeMonkey, we were actually talking about it yesterday, where a lot of what you did started as just being a straight up like indie developer,
Yeah.
like working out of like your parents' house. What was that experience like, being a solo developer? A lot of these people could probably relate to that experience.
Yeah, so for me, I've basically always been a solo developer. So basically, don't ask me any questions about how to work at a studio, how to get those kinds of things. Yeah, I don't have that kind of expertise. No, for me, just always worked solo. Yeah, basically just started by myself. Just in my parents' house, I found out one way that you could like put ads on Flash games, and you could make like a few cents for every person that saw the ad. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, okay, so technically if I make better games that get more plays, eventually this could become a job. And that was basically it, yeah. Then I just started making more and more interesting games, trying to gain more knowledge. So yeah, did that with Flash for like 5 or 6 years. Then jumped onto Unity, started making more PC Steam games. And yeah, basically just continue going from there. So yeah.
It's literally that simple. Just throw ads on your games and you can become a professional game dev.
Yeah.
How many of you know what Flash is? This is going to date a lot of people. Wow, a lot more people than I
nice,
thought,
good.
which is impressive. That
Flash was awesome, yeah. I was very sad when it died.
That
Yeah,
was like
it was
the
an
first
awesome
tool
thing.
that I used to like make like 2D games and stuff.
It was
so
very good.
Very.
Yeah.
For those of you that raise your hands, you've been doing this for a
Yeah.
long time at that point. But it's quite interesting because it's like you and I have had very different experiences, right? It's like I went to school to learn how to make video games, but you had a very opposite experience getting
Yeah.
into the industry and doing a lot of stuff that you did.
Yeah, for me it was very much self-guided. Just going on Google, Stack Overflow, trying to find things, and then just a trend of trial and error, just trying to do things, didn't work, trying something else. Yeah, so I never had like a professional education, that kind of thing. No, it was always been just by myself, just very much self-taught. Yeah, because honestly, when I was growing up in Portugal, there wasn't really anything about game development. No, there was like computer science, more general stuff, but yeah, more game development specific things. Those didn't really exist back in my day, which sounds a bit odd, but yeah, like 15 years ago, yeah, that didn't really quite exist. So yeah, but nowadays it does. So yeah, now that's another option that exists nowadays for people just getting started. You can start learning something quite a bit more specific to game development.
But you didn't even like finish college. Like you
No.
went through, tried several times.
Yes, I did try going to college several times, but it did not work for me, basically because in high school, you basically just had to do what the teachers told you to do, and that was it. You couldn't get by. But in college, all of a sudden, they just taught the material, and then you were expected to just study it by yourself. And back then, when I was a kid, I had zero self-discipline whatsoever. So yeah, when I was just thrown into that area that was very much, I had to suddenly do the work by myself, I couldn't do it. So yeah, for me, college didn't quite work out, but yeah, one good thing is that over time I had to learn basically the skill of self-discipline, which now I think I'm pretty good at. Now, whenever I have some work that I need to do, I basically just do it regardless of whether I feel like it or not. But back then, I couldn't force myself to do things. So yeah, I had to go through that journey of learning self-discipline, which then allowed me to learn how to build games and have actually a career making games. But I had to go through that process, definitely.
It's ironic because as like a content creator, basically as an entrepreneur, right? It's like you need to have an intense amount of discipline to put out. How many 3 videos a week that you do?
Yeah, that was. I recently started making one short every single day, plus one tweet every single day.
Oh my god!
So yeah, a lot of content, a lot of things constantly having to build. Yeah.
It's like you have to really lock in and spend a lot of that time. And it's like not just being a game developer, right? It's like an additional level of
Yes,
complexity
it is, yeah.
that you're dealing
I mean,
with.
being a solo developer is basically being a solo entrepreneur. So yeah, if you want to make games, and if you want to make games solo, you definitely do need to gain those skills, more entrepreneurial business skills, or just organizational skills. Yeah, just learning those are definitely very, very important if you want to make games. Yeah.
So like as you were getting like your YouTube content started, like what helped you to dial in that discipline that you needed to start creating good content and start creating content consistently?
I think it was just over time, just learning it step by step. I mean, if you go watch my very first few videos, you'll see how they are absolutely terrible. My presentation, horrible. So yeah, I haven't hidden any videos, so you can go see my very first video and see, yeah, things were not nice, but still, video by video, constantly improving, which is the same thing with making games, basically. My very first game was also pretty terrible, just a basic game with like some cars just dodging obstacles. So yeah, it was very basic, but yeah, over time, you'll learn things. And yeah, by project, you improve by quite a bit. And yeah, after getting enough experience, then you become decent at something, yeah.
Would you say your latest game is better than your first game?
Definitely, yeah. Definitely quite a lot more better, yeah.
Otherwise, you're back at square zero.
Yeah.
Really improved.
I mean, experience is really one of the best things. It's always the thing that I recommend to people is just make tons of games because you will gain tons of experience, and experience will help you so much in making, in producing higher quality of just about anything you want. So yeah, make more things, gain more experience. That I feel that's basically solid advice for just about anything you want to do.
And like this is gonna sound old. Back in our day, there weren't really many opportunities for like releasing games on like platforms and stuff. It's like basically it was like the web was the easiest way and the most accessible way. Versus now it's like we have like our mobile devices, we have consoles, we have Steam, we have itch, and it's like a plethora of opportunities that didn't really exist when you were making games in Flash,
Yeah. Even when I started making Steam games, back then Steam wasn't open. It was still very closed. You still had to know someone to get on Steam. And when I first went on to Steam, I actually had to go through Greenlight, where you basically have to gather a bunch of votes in order to be allowed to get on the store. So yeah, compared to now, now you just pay $100 and you can put anything you want on Steam. Obviously, that has the other problems, which is oversaturation, so it becomes very difficult to stand out. But at least nowadays, you don't need like specific context to be able to get your game on Steam. Anybody can do it. So yeah.
How many of you know what Steam Greenlight is?
Woo, okay,
still quite a few.
people.
It's the
Nice.
same people that raised their hand for Flash, by the way. That's like for anybody that's wondering. We've all been doing this for a very long time. So it's interesting because like a lot of the stuff that you do with your YouTube channel, right, isn't only Unity. Actually, some of my favorite videos personally, which if you have not seen, Hugo does an incredible job of taking a look at like Steam stats and Steam data. You have like your own newsletter that you write about, right, too? And it's a really great breakdown of like what's happening, at least on the Steam landscape. Yeah. What have been like interesting trends of things that you've been seeing on Steam, or like indicators of success or failures for like different like projects and stuff?
I think recently, especially for the past few years, I think genre and idea selection has become quite a bit more important. Like a few years ago, if you made a game and it was just a solid, well-built game, you had good odds of finding success. Whereas nowadays, even if you have something very solid, if it's like a 2D puzzle platformer, chances are it's not going to do very well. So yeah, nowadays, picking a good marketable game idea is definitely quite a lot more important. So it pays to actually keep track of Steam, of the games coming out, so you know what are the hot genres, so you know what genres tend to do well, what genres don't do well. So if your goal is to find success, I always have to give the caveat, because whenever I talk about Steam success, people always tell me, oh, but I don't want to just chase trends. And I'm like, okay, sure. If your goal is just making games for fun, that's perfectly fine. Just you want to make a 2D puzzle platformer, by all means, go ahead and do it. Yeah. But if your goal is to make games for a living, I would definitely encourage you to pay attention to genres and try to find a genre that has better odds of finding success.
But also,
nowadays,
like,
yeah, that's difficult.
Like building something that's fun. Actually, somebody showed us a game earlier today. What was it called? Sword car?
Yes,
it's literally a sword
so.
on a car. It was so sick. It was like a drifting game.
A great
where you're like
idea.
slicing through things. Like, this is the greatest game, and it's like This is a small plug. I don't even know this person. I met them
Yeah.
today. Highly recommend checking it out on Steam. It looks so cool.
It looks awesome.
But it's like one of those things that it's like it is weird and niche, but people like it, right?
Yeah.
Because it's so different.
Yeah, nowadays you have to stand out in some sort of way, whether it be through a wacky idea, through interesting visuals. Yeah, if you don't stand out, then yeah, it's very difficult.
It's also interesting too. How many of you went to the Unity Indie Celebration event that happened today? Nobody? Okay.
No one.
I saw a hand pop up in the back. It was actually quite interesting. How to market games, another great resource.
Oh, yeah.
About
I recommend.
Just learning a lot about marketing games and how to make them
yeah.
successful when you launch them. He was talking a lot. They were talking a lot about like friend slop, right? That's like the new term being thrown around on like games.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, if you have an idea for a friend slop game, 1,000 other people have an idea for a friend slop game. So how do you actually like dig in, make it different, make it meaningful, right? That it's like it resonates with a publisher or somebody that you're talking to, that it makes it like memorable, right?
I mean, first of all, it starts by I think it starts by just following the games that are coming out on Steam, the ones that are finding success, so you get a better sense. So you get better at basically coming up with ideas that do have potential to find success.
Yep.
So I think it starts from that. So you yourself have a better filter for what things are good. But that's just the first step. Then the very important, crucial step is basically validating that idea. So putting out a bunch of GIFs on Twitter, Reddit, whatever it is, just to see, do people actually react to this idea? And yeah, basically, if you post something and you can easily get like 10,000 views on Twitter, then you know, okay, this idea has potential. Whereas if you post something and it's very difficult to get like 10 views, then you know, okay, this one might be very difficult to market to get an audience, so might be better to try out a different idea. But yeah, basically doing a ton of work on actual idea selection, idea validation, trying to do that before you spend 6 months or 2 years working on a game, yeah.
It's funny because it's like, it's one of those levers now where it's like everybody, I don't know, I feel like a couple years ago, everybody was like, oh, we need to get our games in the hands of streamers because that's how it gets out to a larger audience. But now, I can't tell you the number of games I've seen on TikTok. The first time, how many people have heard of Peak? I hope everybody in the room.
Yeah.
If you haven't, okay, for the half of the room that did not ever play or hear of Peak, take a look at it. One, incredible game. Two, I discovered that game on TikTok, and it's made by like two of some of the best indie studios that exist like in the world at this point. Aggro Crab and Landfall. I'm totally,
I think so.
yeah, thank you. I've been up all day. But it's impressive because it's like, it was just all over TikTok. I just see it constantly on my feed, and it's like, oh, this is like an actual incredible game, and you can see it when you're seeing all these people commenting on things about it.
Yeah, I mean, posting on TikTok, yeah, that's especially considering how TikTok has their special algorithm with so much virality. Yeah, if you post an idea on there and gets like 100K views, then yeah, okay, that's something you definitely should pursue. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot more opportunities out there than just like trying to use streamers or anything like that nowadays. Obviously, streamers help, right? It gives particularly good feedback.
I would say everything kind of works together. If you have a game that is marketable to the audience in general, it will also be marketable to streamers themselves. So yeah, that's why idea validation is so important, because if you pick a good idea, things become infinitely easier.
Yeah. Same thing with making a good product. Our tech is only good because Hugo gives us feedback that it's bad. So then we make it better.
Yeah, of course, always improving.
It's true. Nothing's ever perfect. So it's interesting too because with Peak, and this is something that I've seen a lot. This is much a very subjective take on my part. I'm very curious to see what you think. But especially like over the last couple of months and years, right? It's like you see the rise of a lot of games that are popping up on like UEFN and Roblox. I pay attention to a lot of this stuff because I generally pay attention to trends in the industry. Very interesting fun fact, Grow Garden, which was like the biggest game on Roblox, does not exist on stats of monthly active players anymore. Incredibly fascinating. It's like now an entirely new genre of games, right? So now it's like the attention span of people is even shorter than before on like games that they actively engage with, which means that like you as a developer now need to like have shorter cycles, not work faster necessarily, but work smarter in how you're actually creating content. Is that like similar to like what you've been seeing in terms of even just like what you would try to create on your own?
Definitely. I mean, I always recommend people make smaller games just because, first of all, it lowers the risk. If you make a game on 6 months, then the amount of money, the amount of copies that you need to sell in order to turn a profit is obviously much less than if you spend in a game for 5 years. So in that sense, it helps, but it also helps on the same thing that I was saying, the idea validation, idea selection.
Yep.
If in 2 years you make 4 games, then you have 4 different ideas that you can try out, as opposed to spending those 2 years just working on a single game, and you just try out one idea. So yeah, and those games on Roblox, those are I think that's actually a very underutilized place for idea validation. I think so, because yeah, you can go on those and you can see, okay, these games, because those games, I don't know, I hope I'm not saying anything negative, but Roblox does not look like the best looking kind of game. So yeah, so if
Take that clip out of context.
so if those find success, that means the gameplay itself is actually very interesting and the idea is very interesting. So you can basically try to validate the idea of the gameplay in those, and if it finds quite a lot of success on Roblox, then making a quote-unquote proper version for Steam, that could be a very valid strategy.
Yeah, and it's nice too, right? Because it's almost kind of acceptable that it's like janky,
Yes.
right? It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
that's just
exactly.
kind of what you're expecting when you walk in. Same thing
Yeah.
with Flash games, honestly.
Yes.
You walk into Flash and you're like, oh, this experience is weird, but it's fun,
Yeah.
so I'm going to play it. But yeah, it's like fascinating because it's like Peak. They shared this story at Unite, the Unity conference, and it's so fascinating. I did not know this. That game was basically made in 2 weeks. Did anybody
Yes.
know that?
That was crazy, yeah.
Handful of people. That is an insane story. Literally, it was basically a game jam project that they spun up in 2 weeks and was able to create something that incredible, right? And it's like that's kind of the degree of like creativity and like freedom and fun that you need to be putting into it, and also not overthinking what you're building, right? It's like they
Yeah.
gave themselves 2 weeks, they build it, they put it out there,
Yep.
just saw if it was interesting.
Yeah, exactly. And once they did find success, they kept building upon it. So yeah. Whereas if it had not found success, they would have simply spent like recommend expecting those kinds of results. Yeah, that's definitely a very much outlier, very much an anomaly. But yeah, very.
They
good
are
strategy.
experts. They are very good at what
Yes,
they do, but
yes.
that's not to say that you can't apply the same methodology to the work that you're
Oh
doing.
yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
So I think, especially looking at, like we're at GDC, and we're looking a lot at the future of this industry, right? It's like Hugo's been doing this for 15 some odd years. I've been doing this for 10 some odd years. I don't know. We're both old. We both know Flash, so that signifies a lot. But now looking at the future of this industry, right? It's like we're seeing a lot of this rapid change. We're seeing this need for like faster teams, smaller teams to create content and test it and put it out faster. What have you seen as like the biggest impact for like developers, studios, people that you've spoken to, like in your own time, like on the side? Like what are the interesting trends popping up there?
I mean, I think the biggest trend, the most visible, most talked about trend is obviously AI and trying to figure out what are the good ways to use it, what are the bad ways to use it, and yeah, so on those, it's a very dicey conversation because there are some people who treat AI pretty much like religion, and okay, it's kind of hard because anytime that I make a video telling you anything about it, there's always some comments that basically just hear the word AI and they just shut down immediately. But on the other hand, there's also generally positive use case for it, like the recent Unity product update. I think that's what they called it last week, where they showed some use case that seemed generally useful. Not in the sense of replacing developers, but just how can I use this tool to make myself better, make myself more efficient, versus how do I ignore all the noise? Yeah, that's the big challenge.
Do you use AI a lot in your own like workflows?
Yes, but more on the content creation side rather than on the game development side. For game development, the most that I've used is more for like brainstorming. So since I work solo, so I mean, there's a saying, 2 heads are better than 1, but if I'm just solo, I only have 1 head. But the AI kind of acts like a second head. So yeah, for bouncing off ideas, for game design ideas, like, okay, I want to encourage the player to do this kind of thing. How do I do it? Asking that to the AI, and you can get some interesting answers back. And then basically combining the output of the AI with your own brain, with your own game design brain, and you can come up with some interesting ideas to build.
Yeah, use it for like a creative source. Quick question for the audience. How many of you hate AI? Absolutely.
Oh, no one.
Wow, that's
Okay.
surprising. I would have
Interesting. That's
expected. There's
surprising.
like a half hand in the back, so we'll count that. How many of you are like neutral about AI and using it? 1, 3, 4, 5, a handful. How many of you are like use it regularly and like are enthusiastic about it? That's like not possible because not every single hand that's in the crowd.
Okay.
But that's fair. It's a very interesting challenge, right? Because it's like when I consider me as a solo developer, just like Hugo was saying, right? It's like I know I for a fact am terrible at character modeling. I've done it, and you don't want me doing it, right? And it's like if I'm going to start my own game and like just like experiment with ideas and stuff like that, it's just really easy just to like get some models generated or something like that before I like really start digging into like the styles of things that I want,
exactly.
right? And it just helps to alleviate a lot of that thinking ahead of time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So then you can focus more on like what's actually fun and interesting. That's like the goal of the stuff that we're trying to do with Genies, right? It's like saves you the time of worrying about using characters, making a system, and then you can just like go and build the game, which is really the part that matters at the end of the day.
Yeah, exactly. So if you can just, instead of spending hundreds of hours building a character customization system, if you just download it and you just use it to, there you go. You already have the character customization. Now you can focus on things that make your game more unique, more interesting.
It's like saving time, especially like
Yes.
one has always been super important, but especially in this day and age where it's like
Where
now
you have
it's
to be
like
more and more efficient. So that becomes even more valuable.
it's like in order if you're trying to like make like a more complex script, right? It's like you can like work with Claude to like be able to have it give you the skeleton of what you need, right? Instead of trying to figure out the entire architecture. So now your brain is free to actually figure out what you now need to actually implement yourself, right? It's just saving a lot of that energy.
Yeah, so
I could use it today. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
I've had 2 events. I've had like 9 meetings. Would love a second brain of myself. I guess last question, then we'll throw it to the crowd. What do you think is like the biggest takeaway, the biggest opportunity for the folks here at GDC that they can use, you know, in like the next year as they're starting like new projects and stuff like that? Hard question.
Yeah, that's a very tricky question. I don't know. Honestly, I think just in general, I think it's just amazing how we live in an awesome time for making games, I guess. Because it's basically what we were talking about a while ago, which is like how Steam used to be so closed off, so you couldn't get on Steam. So if you wanted to make a solo game, you couldn't really do it. If you wanted to, I mean, the reason why I started using Unity was even because back then that was the only option.
Yeah.
Unreal was paid. Godot, I don't think even existed back then.
Did not.
So back when I started, that was the only option. Whereas nowadays, you've got like at least 3 main engines and a bunch more engines. So the tools are amazing. So it's never been easier to make games. On the other hand, of course, it's the whole challenge. A lot of people making games, so it becomes hard to send out. So you do have all those challenges, but at least it's never been easier to make games. So I see that as a very positive thing. Anyone who wants to make a game, whether it be as a professional career or just a fun hobby on the side, the tools are amazing. So just if you've always wanted to make games but you never quite started doing, I would say definitely use the tools and start doing it. And if you are in the middle of making a game for like 3 years, I would say definitely push it towards the release, publish that game so you can work on the next game, take everything you learned from the first game onto the second game, and just continue growing from there.
Yeah, it really has not been easier. Generally, more than ever, you know, you still got to apply a lot of the thinking involved, but even as like if you're like a narrative designer or even just strictly a character artist, right? It's like there are now tools that exist that help you to start prototyping games without needing that extra knowledge to be able to actually get a game built, which is really valuable, right? Because then you can learn and understand how you can build the fun yourself and then expand on that, you know, bring on friends or teammates to actually build stuff. But at the end of the day, it's like, when I was back in my day, you know, we had one platform that we could use, Flash, and then you made like 2D games, and that was kind of it. And everything was like clips. And now it's like you can make 3D games, you can make things on XR, you can make things on the web, on the Steam Deck, on the Switch, and all these different places, right? And so the opportunities are definitely there, but it's about like trying to find what is unique and what you find enjoyable. I will once again plug Sword Car, incredible game. I recommend checking it out. Very clever, and it was very good inspiration for y'all. So.
Yes.